Assalamu alaikum. In this video, I will discuss the normal refraction and some of its errors. For the normal refraction, we must know how the refractive power is measured, how the refraction is offered by the eye, different structures, and how the light rays passes through the lens and how they bend to form an image by focusing on one point. This is the figure in which you can see how the power of the lens, which is measured in diopter, that is changed with the convexity of the lens. If it is more globular, as you can see this one, the refractive power increases. With the thinness of the lens, thinnest lens, the refractive power decreases and the image goes far away from the lens. This point, that is, if you want to have an image nearby the lens, you have to use more globular or convex lens. And if you want that the image should form far away from the lens, you must need thin lens. This is the way in which you measure the power of the lens, and you must consider the distance far away in which the image is formed behind the lens. The more a lens bends light rays, the greater its refractive index. Refractive power is measured in diopters. As far as the refractive indices they are concerned, we must know that what are the actual structures related to the refractive function of the eye. So for that purpose, I must show this diagram firstly, then the previous one. As now we know the different structures of the eye, starting from the anterior surface of the cornea, which is transparent. We have a number of structures in the eye, but regarding the refraction, what structures they are important? The structures concerned with the refraction, that is, that these are the structures which are taking part in the light refraction, so that light rays should pass this structure and they are going to help the focusing the image on the retina. The first and outermost structure is the cornea. Regarding the refractive power, we divide the cornea into two layers, anterior and posterior. So the first structure, that is the anterior layer of the cornea, and then we have the posterior layer. Light rays, they are going through this surface, then comes the next, that is the lens, anterior surface of the lens, then we have the posterior surface of the lens, and finally the retina, this one. So these are the structures which are mainly concerned with the refraction of the light rays to form the focus, to form the image on the retina. We must know that outside this one, in the atmosphere, we have the air. While when light rays strike to the anterior surface of the cornea, the media, the first and important change which occur, that is related to the media. Outside the eye we have the air media, while after that one, when light rays strike the anterior surface of the cornea, then comes the posterior surface of the cornea. The most change occur here regarding the media. Then we have this chamber which is filled with the fluid which is called the aqueous humor. So now light rays are coming and crossing this media. Then they strike the anterior surface of the lens, the structure of the lens, posterior surface of the lens, and this cavity which is filled with the vitreous humor. So there is a great change regarding the refraction, regarding the media. Air outside, then denser media, solid and liquid, solid and jelly-like substance, somewhat thicker than the liquid. Because of this change, it affects the refraction of the light, it affects the bending of the light rays. So what happens when light rays coming from the object? They strike here and comes to the next one, then strike on the lens anterior surface, finally come to the retina. Regarding the refraction, if we calculate which surface is going to offer how much diopters, so total comes 59 diopters, further divided into the refraction caused by the anterior surface of the cornea, posterior surface, then lens, and then this final reaching to the retina. So this total power, refractive power, is further divided into 39 diopters and 20 diopters. That is offered by the anterior surface of the cornea, and finally from here to up till here retina, there is 17 mm distance, and the final is refraction caused by the lens. Now I discuss the previous slide, this one, the interface between air and the anterior surface of the cornea, interface between the posterior surface of the cornea and the aqueous humor, interface between the aqueous humor and the anterior surface of the lens, interface between the posterior surface of the lens and the vitreous humor. Because of these different surfaces, there is a change in the media, as the anterior chamber that is filled with the fluid, posterior with the vitreous humor. All these things, they are going to affect the bending of the light rays, and ultimately they affect the image formation on the retina. In this animation, you can see these are the different surfaces through which the light is going to be passed. Anterior surface of the cornea and the lens, finally reaching to the retina. This chamber, which is called the anterior segment, and posteriorly we have the posterior segment. Anterior segment which is filled with the aqueous humor, posterior segment which is filled with the vitreous humor. This anterior segment is further divided into anterior and posterior chambers because of the presence of the iris. So this fluid media, outside air, then these denser media, they are all affecting the refractive power. So, two-thirds of the 59 diopters of the refractive power of the eye is provided by the anterior surface of the cornea, not by the lens. This is one thing which we can misunderstand, that as the function of the lens is, we think that refraction is mainly caused by the lens, but we ignore this thing, that the change in the media, that is also going to affect the bending of the rays. As in the intermediate level, you have the experiment regarding one glass filled with the water, and you put one pencil in it to show how the light rays bends, crossing the air media, reaching to the liquid media, and then out of the glass, crossing the liquid media and reaching to air media again. This is the same thing, that because of the change in the media, the light rays, they bend, and it affects the refractive power, that is. So mostly it is the anterior surface of the cornea which is going to affect the refraction. The principal reason is for this is that the refractive index of the cornea is markedly different from that of air, while the refractive index of the lens is not greatly different from the indices of the aqueous humor and vitreous humor. Once the light is inside the eye, that is now the denser media, then we have liquid media, here somewhat thicker media, but it is the gross change which occur at the anterior surface of the cornea. There is a gross change of the media here and here and here. But once the light rays enter inside the eyeball, there is not so much change of the media as compared to this surface, anterior surface of the cornea, which is now has the greatest change of the media from the outside as compared to the inside. Formation of the image on the retina. Here I am going to give you just an introduction about this thing. Otherwise, we will discuss this image formation in much more detail later on. But here you must be familiar with how the image is formed. Image is inverted, image is reversed with respect to the object because of its training for inverted image as normal. This is the thing which I want to show you, that this is the object. Once the light ray strikes the lens, there is crossing over. Then reaching to the retina, the inverted image is formed here. But from here, through the optic nerve, reaching up to the higher level in the brain, the image that has reversed again, reverse again, and finally this one will be the image. So this is not the case that our story about the image formation finish here at the retina. No. In this diagram, I just want to show you that the final image which is formed here, it is not so simple that this is going to form the image here. No, it has to cross the lens, it falls on the retina, then through the optic nerve here, 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 and finally reaching to here. Many times it changes so that you can see the size here and here. and finally this will be the picture. So all this that will be discussed in detail later on, but you must know about this thing, that image is inverted when it forms on the retina. Image is reversed with respect to the object because of its training for inverted image as normal. Here we consider that this is normal because our brain is trained for that one. But finally, the image when formed, you can see this will be the final. We will discuss this whole of the pathway, how it is formed, that is another topic, and we will discuss it later on. So here just focus that image is inverted when it is formed on the retina. This is the animation to show how the light rays enters and how they are processed. Starting from here, you can see the light rays are falling on the anterior surface of the cornea, crossing the lens and reaching to the retina here, and through the optic nerve, this one, it reaches to the brain and final image that is formed. One more animation to show how the image is going to form once it is crossed, the light rays crossed the lens and reaches to the retina. You can see the image is inverted, reversed and upside down. One more picture. Now I think it should be clear to you that the image which is formed on retina, that is inverted. What other changes occur in the light rays when it falls on lens, it crosses through the lens and fall on retina? All we will discuss later on in detail. Now the pupillary diameter, what is that thing? What is its use? It is mainly formed by the central deficient point of the iris. Iris is deficient in the central part so that it is forming a hole through which the light rays directly crossing the cornea and aqueous humor, it falls on the lens. This hole, which is formed by the iris, the size of this hole can be changed. It depends upon how much the light intensity is there. So the size of the pupil, that is going to be changed accordingly to the intensity of the light rays. If you have very much intense light, the pupil is going to be constricted to very small size. In the dim light, when there is darkness, this hole enlarges. So it depends upon the how much the light is available. If the size of the pupil that is not changed, what happens? If there is intense light, it strikes to the retina, it can damage the retina. So God give us a gift in this form that this size of the pupil can be arranged, can be changed according to the intensity of the light rays. So major function of the iris is to increase the amount of light that enters the eye during darkness and decrease the amount of light that enters in daylight. The size of the pupil is changed according to the intensity of the light. And how it changes? As it is the centralmost part of the iris, so the iris muscle, iris that is either relaxed or constrict, so that the change of the size of the pupil that occurs. The pupil of the human eye can become as small as about 1.5 millimeter and as large as 8 millimeter in diameter according to the intensity of the light. This you can again see in this animation, the change of this pupil according to the intensity of the light. If it is dim light, it can enlarge the pupil. If it is intense, so that the size of the pupil decreases. You can see the dimness and sharpness of the light. Change occur due to the size of the pupil. Otherwise, the surface of the cornea and the lens, they are fixed. They are not going to be changed according to the intensity of the light. It is just the pupil which is going to be changed. For the depth of the focus of the lens, it increases with the decreasing pupillary diameter. You can see clearly if there is change in the pupil occur. How? The light rays, they are here. If apart, the iris is apart from each other, the size of the pupil is much more. The image is formed here. If the size decreases, the image goes far away. So the change occur because of the size of the pupil, the depth of the focus that also changes. If the pupillary size is small, intense, you can see intense and sharpness of the vision here as compared to this one. This can happen in the daylight, sunlight, and this will be the situation in the darkness. With this introduction to the normal refraction of the eye, now we come to some of the errors of refraction. The emmetropia, that is the normal vision. Hyperopia, which the other name is farsightedness. Myopia, nearsightedness, and correction of these refractive errors. I will discuss all these in detail, especially the myopia, as most of the students, medical students especially, they have this problem. So I will discuss in more detail this topic, as compared to the other refractive errors. So the first one, that is, we must know the normal eye, this one, which is called the emmetropia. Up till now we have discussed the refractive power which is offered by cornea and also the lens. But we have not discussed that the size of the eyeball, this also matters regarding the refractive power of the lens, refractive power of the eye. Whether the eyeball is of small size, normal size or larger size, it also affects the refraction. Emmetropic eye is the normal eye in which we have this size of the eyeball with the normal perfect cornea and the lens, so that the light rays coming from far away, it can have image exactly on the retina. Now if we change the power of the cornea or the lens, that will obviously affect the refractive power of the eye. But you must know that if in any case the size of the eyeball that is changed, either it becomes smaller than normal here or larger than normal, again it will create the problem regarding the refraction of the eye. In case of hyperopia, these are the patients which cannot visualize the near things, but they can visualize clearly the far things. The far things which are placed far away from the eye. But it is difficult for these patients to read the book to see the near objects. As compared to the other, that is the myopia, in these patients they cannot visualize clearly the far objects as compared to the near objects. You can see the lens and the cornea, they are the same here, but the gross difference is, that is the size of the eyeball smaller, larger as compared to the normal. In this disease or in this condition, that is hyperopia, the image is formed far away from the retina, and in myopia it is in front of the retina instead of on the retina. So both of these conditions, that is the image is not forming on the retina, it is behind the retina, it is in front of the retina, it must be on the retina. To have the image on the retina, we have a choice how we can correct it. Number one thing, either you change the refractive power of the cornea or the lens, or you change the size of the eyeball. The size of the eyeball cannot be changed, as we all know. So the other choice is that you change the refractive power of this, either the cornea or the lens. And this is the treatment, very simple treatment, that because of this lens, that is, you are going to prescribe glasses with the convex lens to treat the hyperopia, so that the image is now formed on the retina instead of behind the retina. In this myopia, in this condition, You are prescribing the concave lens so that the image is formed on the retina instead of in front of the retina. So, in this case, we are prescribing the extra lens which are placed in front of the eye. The simplest treatment of hyperopia and myopia is to prescribe the glasses. In hyperopia, this type of the lens. In myopia, this type of the lens. This is the simple treatment. If we want to go further details, we must consider the other treatment of the myopia. As I have told you that most of the medical students, they have this condition, myopia, that is they can not visualize the far objects clearly as compared to the near objects, and they are wearing this type of the glasses, concave glasses, so that the image is formed on the retina. The other treatment beside these glasses, we can have the contact lenses. About the contact lenses, we must have sufficient knowledge before we use these lenses. These are the lenses which are placed over the cornea. Number one thing, they are of different types. They may be transparent, they may be colored. So the color that is have the centralmost transparent part, while the on the peripheral part it has designed iris colored, so that in the center the central hole is similar to the pupil, while the peripheral colored part is going to show the iris. These are the colored lenses, while we can have the transparent lenses which are wholly solely in the center. On the peripheral part they are transparent. How we can use the contact lenses? For that you must have complete knowledge about the precautions how to use the lenses. The most important thing is the cleanliness of the lens. You must use it carefully. Wash your hand, wash your lens before using and after using also, and these lenses should be kept in small box, or it is the kit which is provided with the lens to keep the lens inside this box. So before use and after use, you must clean your hands thoroughly, your lenses thoroughly, and then dip it in the liquid, which is a special liquid provided with the lenses to keep them wet. If any case they dry, they can be broken down, and for that you must keep these lenses wet all the time, either you are using or not. If you are not using for longer time, you must check these lenses again and again. If they are dry, they must be wet through the with the solution which is provided with the lens. The contact lens, they are the best for the condition that is the keratoconus, which is a special disease condition in which the bulging of the cornea take place. So in that case, the contact lens, they are the best treatment. Otherwise, in myopia you can use it. It has some advantages while disadvantages. Disadvantages is if you are not taking care of your cleanness, it can cause the infection to the eye, and repeated infection can cause ulcer or any other problem to the eye. This is the disadvantage, while the advantage is that you have a greater visual field. Visual field is the area in which you can visualize the things at a time. So by placing the glasses in front of the eye, that limits your visual field, because outside the glass, outside that one, you cannot visualize the subjects clearly. Your vision is limited to the glasses only, while the lenses, they are put over the cornea, so that when you move your cornea anywhere, the lens that move with it, so that you can have a greater visual field as compared to the glasses which are used in front of the eye. One more thing, that because we are wearing of the glasses, you cannot perform very fine surgical work, microscopic work. That becomes very difficult to have to wear the glass and to visualize through the microscope performing the surgical procedure. For that purpose, you must use the lenses. And also, it looks very much better as compared to wear the glasses. In summer season, usually the glasses go disturb you because of the sweat. Either again and again you have to adjust your glasses. Otherwise, lens, they are fixed over the cornea and they move, and no one knows that you are wearing the contact lens if you are using the transparent lenses. If you are using the colored lenses, then that will be visualized by any other person also. He or she can judge that you are wearing the colored lenses because of the change of the color of the iris, and because of some other problems. Anyone can judge it that you are wearing the lenses. Otherwise, if you are wearing the transparent lenses, no one can judge it. So, and one more thing, you may say the disadvantage of the lens, the cost. The cost of the lens that is much more higher as compared to the glasses. And if you want to discuss this topic more, you can call me. We will discuss in detail if you have more interest in that one. This is the normal eye, how it is going to form the image you can see on the retina, exactly on the retina. In the myopia, this is the condition, that is the image is formed in front of the retina. In hypermetropia, this will be the condition, the image will be formed behind the retina, behind the retina. Astigmatism, that is an other abnormality in which the irregular curvature of the cornea is there. As a result, the image is not formed properly on the retina but distorted according to the curvature of the cornea. In this type, the eyeball Its rather is of egg shape, not the globular normal shape. Because of that and because of the change of the curvature of the cornea, the image is not formed on a fixed point. Rather, 2 points are there so that the image is formed in a very different way. Refractive error that causes the visual image in one plane to focus at a different distance from that of the plane at right angles. Result from too great a curvature in the cornea lens, accommodation of the lens cannot compensate because each plane requires accommodation. What is the accommodation and how it is caused? It is another topic we will discuss later on. But here you must know that in the astigmatism there is very much different condition. It is very much different from myopia and hypermetropia, and here we have a different type of the lenses for its correction, that are the cylindrical lenses. This is the astigmatism in which clearly shown that image is not formed on one focus point. Instead of that, you have different situation. You can check this one, blurring of the vision here, and the image is formed here in this manner, not on a fixed point, in a line. And the correction is another type of the lenses which are called the cylindrical lenses. This is the picture to show the difference between the normal eye image and the astigmatic eye. Coming to the next condition, that is the cataract. In Urdu, it is called Safed Motia, and it is very common. It can be occur accidentally or it may be age related. So this is the whitish portion in the pupil because of the change in the lens which become opaque. So through the pupil you see opaque lens, rather the transparent lens. Aphakia is, A means absence, phakia means the vision, so aphakia, that is without lens. We can have different types of the cataract, unilateral or bilateral. Unilateral means involving just the one eye. Bilateral means involving the both of the eye. It may be mature or immature. When the lens totally become opaque, it is called the mature cataract. And if it is grayish or not totally, subtotally opaque, so it will be immature cataract. The cataract may be congenital, accidental, or in the old age. All these have different treatment. If it is mature, it has different treatment, and our treatment plan that differs for the mature and immature regarding the treatment and depending upon the type of the patient. If the patient is a teacher or a professor which he or she needs the very much sophisticated work at each and every instant, So we can operate or we can treat the immature cataract in that case. Otherwise, we will wait so that it becomes mature totally, the lens become opaque, the vision decreases to just light rays can pass, otherwise no image is formed, so that one needs the surgical treatment. And now we will discuss this one: unilateral bimature and congenital. It may be formed at birth with the old age, that is the degeneration process, as the lens is made up of protein particles. So with the age, this protein can be changed. The change occur in that proteinous substance, and it can lead the formation of the cataract, and it may be due to the accident. If any sharp particle, needle or anything strike to the lens, it can damage the lens and it can develop the cataract. This is the image difference when anyone can have the normal vision and with the cataract. But you must know that the blurriness of the image depends upon how much the lens is opaque. By considering the cornea is working normal, by considering the retina is working normal. It is just the lens which is becoming diseased or abnormal, and because of that the blurring of vision is taking place. So if they are mature cataract, you can have just the light perception, but as the cataract is immature, there will be little blurring of the vision, and this blurriness of the vision that increases with the opacity of the lens. In fully mature cataract, there is just only the perception of the light, otherwise no image will be formed. This is the procedure to show how the pupil is dilated because of the drops you install in this way for eye examination or for any other purpose. In some of the disease process also, we have to dilate the pupil because of the medicines, and this is the way to drop the medicine into the eye. Researchers also believe good nutrition can help reduce the risk of age-related cataract. So as we have change in whole of the body because of the age, and that must be minimized with the good diet, so it can be helpful in case of eye also. For the cataract, we have the surgical treatment starting from the very old days in which we were performing the intracapsular cataract extraction. Then comes the extracapsular capsular cataract extraction, and nowadays we are using the phacoemulsification. All these are the surgical procedures. Here I am just giving you the introduction about these. If anyone needs more detail, he or she can contact me personally. In the intracapsular cataract extraction, I just briefly tell you what is the difference between all these. Intracapsular means and extra. What is the difference? The lens that is kept inside a capsule. In older days, This was the practice that whole of the lens with its capsule that is removed. As we have discussed in cataract, the lens become opaque, so it must be removed, it must be treated. In any way, it must be treated. So in older days, what happens that whole of the lens that is removed through the half limbus cut, whole lens is removed, half limbus, the limbus that is the junctional point of the sclera with the cornea. At that site, almost half of the limbus that is cut, a very larger size incision that is given, and through that incision the lens is removed with its capsule. Then with the time the next procedure is done, and nowadays sometimes some of the ophthalmologists they are performing this extra cap also, but mostly phaco is done. In the extracapsular cataract extraction, what happens? The size of the incision that decreases, and the only removal part that is the lens, but its capsule that remains inside the eye. In that capsule, the ophthalmologist put another artificial lens inside the eye to improve the vision. In first case, the whole of the lens that is removed with this capsule, and after the operation, the patient is prescribed the glasses. And here, no need of glasses. The refractive power of specifically measured for each and every patient, and accordingly, the refractive power artificial lens that is placed inside the eye, which is fixed, so that there is no need to have extra glasses. In the phacoemulsification, what happens? Number one, the most important thing that is the decrease in the size of the incision. No one can see the stitch mark, so much small incision is given on the limbus, and the lens now it is not removed wholly, but before removal it is emulsified. It is broken to small pieces. Then these small pieces they are sucked up, and after that the artificial lens it is placed inside. Now I will show you the animations to show all these procedures. This is a very simple procedure. You can see the lens is opaque. Before the surgical operation, the pupil should be dilated to have clear picture of the lens and to have the surgical procedure. This is the lens, the phaco. This is the lens which is broken down into pieces, and then after that it is sucked out through the instrument, and after that the IOL is implanted. The whole of the lens that is removed through the phacoemulsification. This is the same procedure with much more detail, and also the use of the laser. One more animation. can see cataract moving out. This is the IOL to be implanted. So this is all about the treatment of the cataract and other procedures. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.